Carlos Adams versus Hamza Shiraz for the WBC World Middleweight Champion. And this one does give me a little bit of problem in the fight because as looking at it, I did say that Carlos Adams might have a victory here because it had a lot of interesting moments here because when looking at the fight and looking at it from afar, I wouldn't really say there's much about this fight than anyone else would have thought because Carlos Adams is trying to recover from a loss in his career. He's trying to see what he can get himself into while the fight goes on. And after his 12-round loss for the WBO Interim World Super Welterweight title in 2019, I wouldn't really say there's much to his career other than he has traveled a lot. And just like the other fighter, as I talked about in the first fight, that's fought in a lot of places before, Hamza Shiraz has only been to Saudi Arabia twice ever since his Austin Williams win for the WBC silver middleweight title in June of 2024. Comes out and just puts out an amazing win. And surprisingly, it just seemed like something might have been off about this fight because around the first round, it just seemed like Shiraz was not in his game plan in the fight because Carlos was putting a good performance of outboxing him in some time in the fight, and it seemed like there was not much to it. Like there were times that there was a little bit of interesting moments in the fight where I thought there was some interesting moments in the fight because because there were a little bit of closeness in some rounds of the fight. I thought to myself, like Shiraz and Carlos had something in the first, and for some interesting reason, I thought round one Carlos won the fight, and then in round two Shiraz had it. In round two, round three was Carlos, and round four was Shiraz. And then round five, which some people thought was a Shiraz round, but I thought it was another Carlos round. Some people thought round one was Shiraz round. Yet again, who knows? Who knows? I might be wrong. They might be wrong. They might be right. I might be right. Who knows? All I'm saying is that it just seemed like that it looked like there was time that someone was winning the fight, but it looked like Carlos was doing a good job and maybe Shiraz was, but who knows? Like there's moments in round five where Shiraz was throwing punches, but there was moments that he was actually in the defense. Because guys, the problem about the fight is that he was on the defensive side for a lot. Because Carlos, there were times that in rounds of the fight that Carlos was doing an interesting job. There was one. It was just sometimes that there was moments in the fight that some people thought maybe someone gave round one the win for this guy. And also the announcer, I forgot who the person was. There was also a friend of theirs in the desk at the time that gave Shiraz round one, but gave Carlos Adams round two after the sixth round started for some reason, which I still find it really confusing. There's a lot of us confusing judges. Really, I just don't know. But I don't want to get to that because this would be too much of a video to talk about. But my point was that it just seemed like Carlos was winning rounds and Shiraz was just getting rounds taken from him, or some people were taking rounds from him, but I don't know. Like in round 6, 7, 8, and 9, and even round 10 was definitely a slaughter fest for Shiraz. Definitely. Like round 11 was one round that looked like, and guys, if I wanted to talk about those other rounds, this would be a long video because I just want to get to the co-main events and the last fights because these fights are interesting to me. But when looking at Shiraz, it looked like that he was more in the defensive side because someone said around the middle of the fight that he broke his hand and he wasn't on his game plan, which I think his friend Edwards or a trainer of his said that his hand was broken, which is why he was on the defensive side because he was getting a lot of punches blocked away from him in some fights. But in round 11, he was managing to get some good rounds, jabs back into himself in some of the fight for some reason. But yet again, what do I know? I don't know. And then in round 12 was just a huge winning round for Carlos. That after 12 rounds of fighting, I gave Carlos round 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. My score was 117 to 111, which is surprising enough. Some professional scorers had it 114 even. One judge had it 114 even. One judge had it 115 to 114 for some reason for Shiraz, giving one round of a 10-10 even in one round, so Shiraz would win. One judge had it 118 to 110, favoring Carlos. So I really did question the problem, but something told me there was a robbery in the fight for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, for some reason, there was a lot of problems questioning. Even when they scored the 114 to 115 for Shiraz in the first, and the announcer gave 118 to 110, and then the other had 114 to 114 even, it just really concerned me that something was I don't know. It just seemed like something was up in that fight. Some professional scorers give it 114 even on BoxRec, and then other people had, I don't know. Something was up about this fight, controversial due to the internet and the fight itself. So I had it easily for Carlos in the fight. But it's a good thing he still gets to keep the WBC title after his win in June the 15th in the MGM Grand against Terrell Gasha. But yet again, I wish he would have won this fight, but we'll see. Like I said before, it said that Shiraz had an injury in this fight, so who knows who's telling the truth, but it is what it is. It is what it is.